Welcome to the Best Business Podcast, the podcast for established marketers, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. The ones who want to join me in my mission to create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. If that's you, then this podcast was created to give you access to the tools, training, strategies, and tactics you need to achieve multiple seven-figure profits as soon as possible. This world needs the best business you can build, so please get ready, open your mind, believe you can do this, and let's build a better world together for future generations. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by an old friend and video marketing expert, Casey Zeman. Casey is the best-selling author of Build Your Audience with Live Video, the founder of the webinar platform EasyWebinar, and the new Periscope analytic and marketing software Fullscope.tv. With over 6,000 EasyWebinar customers and thousands of Fullscope users, Casey has figured out what works and what doesn't in the ways of webinars, live broadcasts, video, and what truly makes an engaged audience. He's also consulted with companies like Harper Collins, Estee Lauder and Dell on video marketing strategies and lead nurture funnels using webinars. Having built his own seven-figure software/info product business through the power of live video and webinars, he's passionate to bringing these same strategies to you. Today, we're mining his brain for gold and money-making tips, so please join me in welcoming him to the show. Casey, thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing?
Hey, Daryl. Thanks for having me. I am doing awesome.
That's great. Yeah, perfect. And I know you are. We had a nice little chat at the beginning. You're enjoying the beautiful weather down in LA. I miss California. I wish I could be back there. I will be back there soon enough. But I want to get the listeners to kind of know about your tale a little bit because, again, you know, it's great, like fantastic. You've got a seven-figure business. You're doing other fun projects. You're doing some kind of philanthropy and, you know, and you're just really trying to find more meaning and purpose and significance in your life now that you've achieved kind of a comfortable level with your business stuff. But you weren't here always. Like, you didn't start here. And you probably didn't even start with webinars and video when you were a child. How did you even get started with this? How did you fall into the video niche?
Yeah, you know, like, it's interesting, you know, when you look back at what you've had to kind of go through to get to this point, it's a very interesting journey, you know. I started this, you know, obviously all this stuff can stem from your childhood and the type of person you were when you were like 13 is probably what's going to define you when you're older anyway. I never liked working for other people. I was always bad at taking orders, and that's why I probably never had a real job, I guess you'd say. I did for a time, you know, work for other people, but it was like I hated doing it. And, you know, I started off actually as an actor. I went to school for theater and opera. Yeah, and I did it because, you know, that I was just, it was a passion of mine. But I did stage shows, and I was in commercials and some movies and a TV show. But the reality of acting, which is interesting, is that you're still kind of confined within a box by how someone else perceives you, right? How you are kind of, you have what the perception is of you, and then you're kind of, those are the roles that you get. So it's an interesting thing. I never liked being pigeonholed. I never liked being told I couldn't do something. So that's when, that's why I was in the acting world, but I also, you know, I also went on to find my own path, I guess. And it first led me to, you know, this desire to not be broke. And so I went into, I actually, that was the thing. I didn't like being a broke actor. Even though I was getting jobs, it was like here and there, you know, and that's actually actors today. A lot of actors. I hear that in LA. Everyone there's an actor. And whenever you hear that, you're like, what restaurant do you work at? Yeah, even if they get shows, they're not necessarily full-time shows, and they're still having to look at the next thing, when the next thing going to happen, things like that. So for me, I went into real estate because I just didn't like being broke. So I went into and then at that point, that was my first taste of money. I was making a six-figure income. I had my own business with a friend of mine. We were doing mortgages, but it felt really false, really fake, really, you know, kind of dialed in. I didn't really really enjoy it, to be honest with you. And it was kind of a blessing and a curse when the market crashed, when the recession hit, because I went from doing like $250,000 a year to like $15,000 the next year. And I almost lost my house twice. And I had to figure out a new way to make money. And, acting was still kind of the thing that was kind of in the background. And I could do occasional jobs, and I was able to kind of sustain myself with occasional jobs there, some trickling in of real estate. But it completely froze up. But that's when I started thinking, well, there's got to be a better way to get leads. And so I started looking online. And when I started looking online, this whole new ecosystem popped up in front of my face that I never experienced before. And part of it was, wow, there is a way to build leads online for any type of business. At the time, I was seeing that most people that were doing leads online were MLM companies and things like that. And I was like, this is not really my style. But, I kept looking. And then I found an ecosystem of people that were building leads through internet marketing, selling internet marketing to people that want to learn internet marketing. Right. So it was just like, I was like, well, that's kind of confusing, but I think
it's kind of weird cannibalistic market.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I get it, that they're all like people that want to learn internet marketing from other people that are internet marketing through the power of internet marketing. So I then was like, I was like, okay, I'm not quite sure if I want to go down that path. But one day my wife said, hey, Casey, let's go to lunch with our friends, Frida and Chris. And she said, hey, I think Chris has taught himself HTML. And I was like, well, what does that matter? I mean, it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Anyway, I sat down, we had a conversation with them, and it turns out my friend Chris was kind of an online guru, quote unquote, He was, his name is Chris Farrell. Maybe you know who he is. He had it was a very popular membership site. He's brought in like 27,000 people through a membership program.
It's a small
and I think he's actually worked with Jonna Srf as well. What's that?
I said that's a small 27,000 members. That's, small potatoes.
That's right, small potatoes. So I was talking to him about what he does, and he was explaining it to me, and I was like, listen, if this guy can do it, it made me feel so much better that it's actually possible, because I just wasn't trusting anybody online. Everyone was a millionaire and they're showing cars and big houses and stuff like that. And that really wasn't my style. Right. So it was nice to meet someone who was, down to earth and real. And he was one of the first real, quote unquote, people that were out there, that weren't flashy and weird. So I went down that path and just followed some of the things that he was teaching. And then I chose one thing. This is one piece of advice that I got from him. Choose one thing that you're going to then centralize your business around, and then you can expand that business from there. And that one thing was video. It kind of went back to my passion, of acting and things like that. And so I started looking at YouTube and just, piecing everything together, understanding more about what YouTube had to offer, and understanding video marketing in general. And I had the good fortune of starting to work as a consultant for other companies as a video marketer. I was one of the first ones out there, because at the time there were no such thing as video marketers. There were people that worked at ad agencies and that bought advertisement, but not necessarily, how to do a holistic approach to video marketing. So I started doing it for companies, and then I was fortunate to start working with companies like Estee Lauder and Dell, who are major companies, to do their video marketing. And that's what led me to then creating an online program called YouTube Revealed, which is no longer in existence, but it was a YouTube product where it was a membership site. And I had never sold anything online up until that point. I'd learned a lot about internet marketing, learned a lot about YouTube, but within that first year, which was probably 2011, 2012, of having my course, I sold about $245,000 worth of that course online. That was my first experience. I built a list of about 14,000 people, and all of it was from webinars. So I started doing webinars with joint venture partners and things like that, and I started to see the power of this stuff, and that's when things kind of started to click in a bit more, and that's when also webinars became something of a passion for me as well, because it was this evolution from video into live video, this live webinar experience, this presentation, and so that's when the start of the software EasyWebinar started, because EasyWebinar, it's just I saw that there were things called automated webinars out there, but I wanted to create something that was an automated webinar for WordPress, and that's when we kind of started down that path. And so since then, EasyWebinar has become a WordPress or a webinar platform that does live and automated webinars. As I said, we have 6,000 customers, and we're about to roll out our new version at some point soon here. So it's been an interesting ride to go from video to live video in the power of webinars, and now I'm a huge fan, a huge advocate of what these live broadcasting tools such as Periscope or Meerkat. Meerkat's kind of dying out, but Periscope, these tools that stream from your phone, right? These live broadcasting tools, and that's kind of where my passion is now. It's kind of in the live video experience, live video, but also video experience, and that's kind of where I focus a lot of my attention now.
Now, I want to ask about that because it's funny because you like you said, you did as much as you really grew with webinars, and then you built the platform, and then you got into automated webinars, and now you've switched over to these other live platforms. I just want to know, can you speak a little bit about that? Because I know some people have done a ton with webinars, and some people swear by automated webinars, some people swear by live webinars, and some people swear by live broadcasting. And I feel like, you can maybe say that live webinars and the live broadcasting are similar, but I think they're still a bit different because a webinar is kind of more of a packaged presentation, where Periscope, is my understanding, is more just like kind of raw, like live TV footage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So could you maybe speak to each of those and I don't know, just for someone who's listening and they know that they want to get into video, they know it's really powerful. Maybe they're afraid of the setup and the tech. What's the benefit of each? Should you start in one place and go to another? Is there one that's better to leverage for certain parts, like in your business?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And this is kind of where my focus is, using the power of live video to build an audience using things like Periscope, and then driving that audience into something like a webinar or an automated webinar, or even just any type of sales funnel like a mini course that gets those people from the ecosystem of that live broadcasting tool like Periscope into your own marketing and ecosystem, so onto your list essentially. And that's really where my goals and passions are, because I've been testing this out. I've had great case studies for myself. I've had $300 to $500 a day using Periscope and building 30 leads a day. And then, because I was having all this traction, I started to look and wonder why. And the problem is that Periscope doesn't have an analytic tool that will allow me to see who my people are that are coming to my broadcasts, how long they stay, the actions performed, etc. So I started to build my own.
Right.
And right now, we're the only software out there that has created an analytic and marketing tool for Periscope. It's called Fullscope.tv. We have thousands of users that are pretty much broadcasters, and organically, it just has a lot of people signing up to it. But great. It was a way. It's a way for broadcasters or people that want to become broadcasters. And I use broadcasters in the sense that someone has a vision, a meeting in what they want to do. They have a business, an offline store, whatever your vision is for how you want to kind of build a community. That's what a broadcaster is, and a broadcaster simply uses the live stream tool to accomplish that. So there are things that you can do in your broadcast that gets people on your list. And then, of course, with Fullscope.tv, you can go back into Fullscope.tv and see the actions performed. And not only that, you can then connect with those people directly through tweeting them. So Fullscope.tv is very similar to Hootsuite. So it allows you to not only know the people, but then connect with the people.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's
so
really powerful.
And in that regard, that's the list building opportunity that you can send someone back into your list, essentially, back into your program. But there are a few key things that you can do, in a broadcast that really kind of bring that home. And it's a lot of things that I learned in webinars too, having a clear, concise call to action, having value that you're giving, telling them who you are and why you're there. What's your purpose? What's your mission? What's your why? All these things that we kind of figured out in webinars, it translates to broadcasting, and so it's very interesting.
That's awesome. Sorry, I'm taking notes because you gave some good stuff there. I really liked how you talked about, well, first of all, how you talked about choosing the one thing to centralize your business around and then build and grow from there. I think that was a really key point because I know with a lot of entrepreneurs, in fact, even some of my clients, I have one client, she's got a business doing 1.8 million and she's preoccupied with wanting to start these new ventures. And, it's like the shiny object and it's okay, that's great, but you can't take your eye off the prize too long, right? Like,
yeah,
you get it. You totally get it. So, and the other thing is the new ventures are in totally separate, like it's not transferable at all type thing. It's kind of a shiny object thing. And it's just, that's the habit or the behavior or what got her where she is. But I just like that statement. And then just now talking about building a community, building a live audience, going where the people are already and getting to know them and becoming kind of a thought leader there or building relationships there and then inviting them onto your webinar, onto your list, onto your freebies, and using tools. And of course, we're going to shamelessly plug Fullscope.tv. But just that's really powerful to be able to go, wow, I had 50 people watching my stream today. Let me tweet them individually. Or let me have my assistant send them an invite to come join me on my webinar. Hey, if you like today's show, please come check out my webinar. Or like whatever, right? Please come to download this checklist. If you like today's show,
exactly. You can send them a PDF through tweets. You can send them a direct message. And at Fullscope, we have a lot of cool new things that we're going to be rolling in as well. So there are definitely some interesting things that we're going to be doing, and it is really all about connecting with those people on an individual level. That's the currency. That's the power of these people that are watching your broadcast, because there's an audience on Periscope, and it's just a question of tapping into that audience through search, using hashtags to search and things like that, because it's all tied into Twitter. So people will get notifications and come into your broadcasts. I mean, it's powerful stuff for sure.
Yeah, that sounds really, it is. It definitely is. So can we talk about some of the things that you learned that work really well with video? And you just mentioned webinars, but you said like a clear call to action. So that's clear instructions on what you would like them to do next, making sure that you've got value, that you're delivering value to them, that you're not just wasting their time and just, I don't know, trying to lead them on, hoping that that'll convince them to know, like, and trust you. I really like as well talking about who you are, your purpose, your mission, your vision. Because again, you mentioned connecting with people on a personal level, and that's a powerful thing. Video is almost a way of opening a portal and have someone joining you in your room where you can see their facial expressions, their body language, right? Already with the audio, you get tonal intonation and pacing, but it's just a really good way to connect personally. It's, everything's kind of it's a beta version of face-to-face, but it's still really powerful compared to trying to communicate with email only. So what are some other things that you can tell us? We have people here that, again, they're video marketers. They're like, what do I need to do that works? What are some other ways that that can help them do that, to build community with video and connect with people?
Well, interestingly enough, it really is about finding a bit of a structure in every broadcast that you do. But at the same time, I also find that having vulnerability and transparency in your broadcasts are really powerful, or in your videos in general. So I always look at kind of a mixture of campaigns. Like, you should have valuable content that you're sharing where it's truly there to serve the audience, where they're like, my biggest pain point is this. You answer that pain point and you tell them where they can learn more. So you have, a clear call to actions at the end of it where it drives them into like a landing page where they can sign up for more. This is kind of, direct marketing at its finest. And that is the power of what video and live video can do. But at the same time, you don't necessarily always want to show that. What I tend to do is I like to have kind of different styles of videos or different styles of presentations or video or live video that I put out there. So whether it's, sometimes, so it's going to be me providing value through training, but also it's something I call vlog style of video. So it's like, the video blog, vlog style is kind of like where you show a little bit of who you are, the culture of your life, right? So, maybe the family, maybe, your wife or kids, maybe, talk about, where we're going, or philanthropy that you might be focused on. These elements are allowing people to know who you are personally, because 90% of the time people are buying from you from your personality, not so much your training. Yes, the training helps them, and they can say, well, this person is articulate, they're clear, they're helping me out. But more so, I'm just digging their vibe. I like who they are personally. And so don't feel afraid that you show a little bit of the levity of your life, or the vulnerability, I like to say, of your life, because the more of that people experience, they feel like you're a real person. So that's why I think it's important to have those moments as well in video.
Yep.
So, that if there's one thing I can say, it's like, don't always show the same thing, but then, remind them as to what your purpose is and why you're creating this content. Have a video script that you can also focus on when you do some of those trainings, like say, have something that you end with, like, this is Casey Zeman, create an intention and live it, or something like that. I don't know. You create your own, but it's then something memorable that they say, okay, this is, I can rely on this. Also consider having a pretty consistent video schedule, video creation schedule, or broadcasting schedule that you can do every week. Because people also like to rely on time. Now, I don't really hold to that. But I do try to hold to a blog post timing, or at least, have something that they can rely on. Like at the end of the week, I send out a weekend review of my different blog posts or my different broadcasts, and link to those. So, or videos, so that then they can still consume it, so that they feel like, oh, this person's around, they're available, they're consistent. That's one thing that I've noticed my audience has let me know about. They're, hey, I get your emails all the time. They don't say it in a bad way.
Right.
They say it as like, thank you for giving me your emails, because I can, I follow up, I check it out, I open up your emails.
We all have people that are our heroes and that we're fans of, and everyone has disciples. And I like what you said, because there's a great quote, all things being considered equal, people prefer to do business with their friends. All things not so equal, people still prefer to do business with their friends.
Yeah,
and I really liked what you said about making yourself human. To bring this home, actually, I did a consultation yesterday with a guy that I know. He did really well with the company, sold his shares, made $5-6 million, and he's got some new ventures that he's working on. And so yesterday, my girlfriend was with me, and we were in Toronto, and we sat down and had lunch with him. And I told her before that we were going to go meet this guy, and she'd done some research. And after, when she was like, "Wow, like he really seemed real, like he seemed like a real human," and that was funny for me, because I get people like you on the phone or the podcast, and right, like for me, like of course I know you're real people, but I think that's really true. Sometimes, and when you're put in a position of authority, or if someone's looking up to you in something, there's just a tendency to like there can be a gap, like they're there and I'm here. But when they learn more about your life and who you are and things that you have in common, suddenly, like you said with your friend, when you were with Chris, you're like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. So in a lot of ways, you can even help your audience by becoming more real and human with them. Is that correct? Would you agree?
Yes, I think that people aren't stupid. They want to know who you are. Know, they can see through the bull. So show them your life. Be transparent as you can. Be controversial if you want to. Just give them something that they can know a bit more about you. Maybe know your politics. You're not going to please everybody.
Right.
And that's one of the other things I learned, is that you shouldn't try to please everybody. You should have a little bit of clarity as to who you are. Because you're always going to be faced with it. People are going to question who you are, and they're going to try to sway you one way or another. And I think it's your job to really know who you are and what your mission is and who you're trying to serve. Because by knowing that, you can stay on a path that works for you. Because, as you just said, some of your friends have had like the shiny object syndrome, or hey, I'm working on this thing or working on this thing, and yeah, maybe we should create this business venture. And, I do that too. Like I have that same problem. I'm a yes man. So my biggest struggle has been to be a no man. And that's what I've been really trying to do more of, to say, no to certain projects and yes to the things that really is there going to be a point where I don't want to do this? And if it's the case, then I need to say no to it, even though there might be money involved. Is it going to serve me in the long run? Or am I going to disappoint someone in the long run by doing this? If the answer is yes, then it's best to not take on those ventures, even though they might in the short term look sexy or look like it's the thing you want to pursue.
Yeah.
So
I agree 180% with everything you just said. And I think that's really true. And I know sometimes people might even be afraid. Some people say you shouldn't talk about politics, sex, or religion. But I think in some instances, you have to be careful. But it's okay, like you said, to just be yourself, because you want to attract people that you're going to enjoy doing business with. And you're never going to please everyone. And I can tell you from personal experience, like I've actually had to, I don't want to say abruptly, but I've let clients go because I just didn't feel like there was a good match. And you really need synchronicity in order to be able to work effectively as a team, right? In any capacity, whether you're delivering a service for someone or something like that. So depending on what you do and how involved you get with people, you almost want to weed those people out in advance. And so I think that that's something that you can't be afraid of, right? You're trying to please everyone and be perfect, and people might judge me. I just really liked how you brought that up. So Casey, bringing it back to kind of talking about your journey and, starting small and then, kind of getting into the mortgage business and having to start over and doing videos and doing a product launch and then getting into software. What was your greatest challenge in your progress, or what were some of your greatest challenges? Did you see yourself overcoming some milestones or figuring out certain pieces at different stages that helped your evolution?
You know what? I think that, through the growth, it was me kind of listening to my own intuition. That was probably one of the biggest things. When I don't listen to my own intuition, things kind of go awry. So listening to your own intuition, but then following people that really know what they're talking about, because the mistakes that they've made are there to help you. So I have been fortunate enough to follow some people that are doing really well, and they've been able to help me, get over and overcome, major obstacles and failures, which I've had so many. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we go through these points where you're going to find failure. I mean, I find failure I've had terrible webinars, where I just wanted to turn off everything and, go hide under the covers. I mean, I've had those moments,
Yep.
Those moments still happen every day. It's not like now you're successful, or now you make money online full time and those don't happen. No, you always go through a hit or miss in your life. And it's about how you process that changes, I think, when you start to understand the success of it. You change how you filter that information in, and you kind of grow from your mistakes, or you say, okay, well, that's testing. And then you call it testing, and you don't call it failure at that point. But there have been moments where, I've definitely gone through those points where, it's growth. It's growth. And here's the thing, the more you can feel confident in who you are, the better. And it's so difficult, especially when you see other people that are doing really well and you're trying to do really well and you're not doing really well. So it's hard to know. But I think you find someone that you resonate with that will be there as kind of, as a mentor, and then grow from there. Daryl is a perfect example. If following him, he's been doing this. He's worked with people that have done it. He's doing it himself. And the people that are mostly transparent about their successes as well as their failures are going to be the people you want to follow. That's the thing. That is. Because those are the people that will share with you, well, this has worked or this hasn't. And to only know what's worked doesn't give enough filter to you. You need to know what hasn't worked. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, for me, what hasn't worked for me in the past, or what hasn't worked for me is too many things on my plate. When I have too many things on my plate, nothing gets accomplished. Also, not staying strong enough, in my own not feeling like confident enough in my own abilities to create, do I then fall back on something comfortable when it's only comfortable for a minute, and then you realize that the better path would have been to follow your actual your rhythm, the thing that's driving you, your intuition. So
Yeah. I fully agree. And the failures can be really hard to confess or admit. And it's funny because when you're having webinars where you just want to curl up. I remember I had one and I had 100 people on the webinar and gave away great content, but didn't sell a thing. And I was like, what? Like, I thought I had it this time. And, but you just, like you said, you get up and you do it again. And that's one of the things that's come through is like, not just the consistency, but just how. Well, I think what I want to say here is that overnight success doesn't really happen. Like Thomas Edison didn't just invent the light bulb. He says, that's what he said. He said, I didn't invent the light bulb. I just ran out of wrong things to do. And I think that's for a lot of people, it really has to be about the journey. And I think at the beginning, I think one of the worst places to be is when you're in a real scarcity scenario, right? Like when you're just trying to pay your bills and get fed, right? My buddy Dan and I used to call it roof and ramen. Like as long as we can cover our roof and get some like hot noodles that'll work with hot water, like we're good. Roof and ramen is all we need. And then suddenly, if you can get into a state of really wanting to help people and serve others, like you said, because I like how you mentioned that. You want people to let them know who you are, what your mission is, and who you're trying to serve. And I love how you said that because I feel like that's really lost. Like customer service, everybody wants everything to be automated today, including myself, but you really do need to serve people and help people. And that's all, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it comes down to. So, anyways, it's, you'll have a way more fulfilling business. Even at the beginning, I mean, we talked, I hope you don't mind, but we talked about how you and your wife are going to be adopting at some point. And it's not because of the fact that you can't have children. It's just something that you guys want to do. You've achieved certain levels of success and you're like, what else can we do? How else can we give back? How else can we enrich our lives? And that's something that for you guys, it's something that would make your life better. And so I really think that it's not just about making money. And some people do want to grow a company and sell it and cash out for the couple of billions. But I really think, and this has come up before, but I've been fortunate to meet with tons of people like you, as well as world champions and Olympic athletes. And it's like, if you go win a gold medal at the Olympics for pick anything, like judo, you're not going to go home and be like, I'm going to take a ballet now. Like, that's kind of almost a trapping of success, but it's not, because you find a place where you love what you do so much, you just love it for doing it. That's one of my favorite quotes about mastery is do it until it becomes dull and then keep doing it until it becomes beautiful. And I think that speaks to like the journey of it and just enjoying the process and enjoying the day to day. And like, that's why even if you do, when you get there, you're not going to go sit on the beach and relax and, drink every day. That will be fun for maybe a week, maybe a month or two. But at some point, especially as you get older, you're going to want more significance and meaning. You want your life, like you want your existence to mean something to the world. So,
exactly.
So I just love, because it's just simple truths, but they're really profound truths, and there's nothing that's get rich quick in this. There's nothing that's push this button and money's going to fly out. It's get to know your audience.
I mean, the only thing I can say is that webinars are literally the way that I make money, mostly from webinars, even automated webinars. I mean, they convert even higher than my mini courses. I compare the two with Facebook traffic and Facebook ads, and one is 8% and one is 11 to 15%, and the automated webinar is 11 to 15%. I mean, if I had to like say, okay, what tangibly works, Facebook ads really work. Tweaking some of the Facebook ads, getting people onto a webinar works. Building a community with Periscope or YouTube or whatever, or even use Periscope to create a broadcast, then repurpose that broadcast to be a podcast, to be a video in YouTube for SEO, to have that video uploaded natively into Facebook videos, all these aspects, like, that's tangible stuff, but it's more so the mindset stuff is the biggest pain point that I have, or I had, more so than all of those, or the accountability to get some of those elements done.
Right.
That's the other aspect, being able to say, I'm going to focus on this and do it. because we have so many distractions in our life, and that's probably one of the bigger things I can do as well. I'm a huge procrastinator, or have been. So
you're like, that's why I do automated webinars.
Yeah. So the accountability factor, or the coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to accomplish this. That is, it's like one of those things you want to work on. Like, one of my biggest problems is, as I said, procrastination, even though, when you look at it, I have EasyWebinar. We're coming out with a new level. We have Fullscope.tv, which is a brand new software that came onto the market. We're building our list very fast every single day. On the outside, it looks pretty good, but there are projects that I've wanted to create that I haven't. And in that, I have a procrastination issue. So I beat myself up about it, but at the same time, you have to allow yourself to feel your successes when you have them, but not rely on your successes. So that's why I never sit back on any laurels that I may have. I try to always push forward and kind of look at the bigger picture and the bigger goal. Because the bigger goal is, the more money you have and the more influence you have, the more impact you can make onto the world.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So let's dive into something that you said, because my ears perked up and it sounds like some good money-making info. So let's talk about this a little bit. You talked about Facebook ads to a webinar and how your webinars are still your top converters over your mini courses and pretty much anything else that you've got going on. And that your automated webinar, and I love that, because the sales letter, people don't know the history of sales letters, but short recap on the history of advertising in a nutshell, as I like to describe it, and it's not necessarily perfect, but I think it makes perfect sense, is back in the day, unless you were a tradesman, that, carpenter or something, or a farmer, you were going door to door, knocking on doors, trying to sell your wares, whatever it was, whatever the invention was you created. And so one day we have a sales guy or a business owner who's going door to door, and he's got a pregnant wife or a wife with kids, and they need to buy clothes, and she wants to go on vacation, they need a bigger house. He's trying to figure out, how do I get through more doors in a day? And he realizes, hey, every day I go knock on a door, I go through the same spiel. And maybe if I wrote it down, I could pay a little boy to run ahead of me and deliver these, and then when I get there, I can get through them quicker. And so he does it, and he hands them out, and he realizes that sometimes the boys are coming back with money, and sometimes the boys are coming back with questions. So he keeps updating this letter until eventually he's attached an order form, and he's not even going door to door anymore. He pulls into a town, has all these boys deliver all these letters, they come back with the orders, and they take the product back to the owners. And that's kind of the evolution of sales letter. That's actually the evolution of advertising. A lot of people don't get that, but that's how advertising in a nutshell and evolved. And so now you've got sales letters where it's a written explanation of the product and the story behind it and why it's valuable and why it's a great deal and why you need to buy it now. And that's kind of, again, modern advertising. And even the internet is a direct response medium. I'm not a big fan of brand advertising, but what you mentioned with automated webinars, which I love, is you said that your automated webinar actually performs better. And I love that, because it's like you've recorded yourself at your best. If you're a sales rep or whatever, even when I had my martial arts school, at some point in time, you had to sit down face to face with someone and talk about the memberships that you had and what, the packages that were available. And that was a sales presentation. And I might do that 4 times in a day. But if I could have caught myself my best day and my best mood when I was fun and entertaining and lively, and if I could have recorded that and then just had everyone come through and see that, my conversion rates probably would have been higher. So can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, it sounds like Facebook ad to webinar equals money for Casey.
Well, yeah. So, the ability to be able to fashion a automated webinar that's done right, that's not spammy, that's not like lying about it being live, that still has engagement and interaction, and the ability for people to comment and then you can still respond. I mean, all those are great parts of what defines a good presentation in an automated webinar. So inside my presentation, I've set it up to where I create really quality expectations of what they're going to be getting in the webinar itself, and I take that opportunity over the next. Mine's pretty long. It's like 2 hours plus long. That I take the opportunity to not only tell them my story and why I do what I do, but also give them really, really, really high quality content that they can take notes with, and then finally finishing it up by having an irresistible offer that just makes more sense for them. And the people that really, makes a lot of sense for, take it on. The others that don't, it's still valuable content that they take away that they can apply then and say, hey, Casey's awesome. He still applies great content. I love what he's doing. And they become still a fan anyway. So, it doesn't necessarily mean, money is not the overall barometer of someone loving you or not.
Right.
Some people will come in later on. So I think it's all about the quality of the presentation and then, of course, the follow-up. So so even if people don't buy from my webinar, I oftentimes have different sequences that go out based on that action performed. So if they, an EasyWebinar has the ability to do that with Infusionsoft and soon to be Ontraport and a few others. So so it's kind of cool that, you can follow up with people that take specific action. And that's, that has a specific feeling to them. They're like, okay, well, this person is, talking to me directly. And, as I said, it really is all about how you set up the presentation. And my presentation seems to do a little bit better than the mini course. But then again, the mini course, what's nice is that if people come through the mini course, which is all about webinars, and they don't buy, I send them to the automated webinar. And in turn, for those who come through the automated webinar, if they don't buy, I send them into the mini course. Because here's a good bit of insight: the more people consume from you, the closer they are to purchasing from you.
Right.
So,
right.
The more they can consume, the more blog posts you create. It's just the closer they are to being one of your customers, right? Moving them through being someone who is on the, looking from the outside in, to then being a fan, to then saying, you know what, I'm now going to make that next level commitment and become a customer. And, it's up to you to just really express your value to them or express how you want to help them with what they're doing. And, it's not really about making the sale right away. Initially, I mean, yes, that's great, but if you create a consistency in your marketing and in your value that you give, people eventually come around and buy.
I love one of the things that you brought up was how the more that their content that they consume, the closer they are to being a customer. Drayton Bird, who's an old school direct mail kind of legend, he says the purpose of business is to locate a prospect, to turn that prospect into a customer, and then that customer into a friend. And I love that because it's just like we say, the more your content they consume, the more comfortable they are with you, the more they get to know you. And it's the same thing. It's not even necessarily about money. If I'm like, hey, I'm see a movie. I'm not like, hey, Casey, do you have $30? I need $30 from you. Can you give me $30? That's only $30. I hope you don't mind. It's $30, right? Like, It's not. It's about, hey, let's go do this. Let's go see a movie. And then the money is just the byproduct to help get you there. And I think that a lot of people lose that. And even sometimes business owners will downsell people, right? Or they'll try to, cheapen the price of their product to go get that. So I like that. Also, you mentioned something, and I'd like to point this out for the listeners, that your webinar, your best converting webinar, is 2.5 hours. And that's really interesting, because if someone won't give you their time, they definitely won't give you their money. And I think that there's a lot of 45-minute, and I even have a couple 60-minute webinars. And it's funny because when you said that, we've mentioned Jonna Srf before. I helped him build a webinar funnel that we did. This is when you and I first met.
Yeah.
Back in the day. They did 1.6 million with it before I left, and it was still running. I haven't seen ads lately, but it was still running for at least 1.5 years after I left. And obviously they're making improvements and updating in that, but it was still the same thing. Now, that was a 6-hour event, but it's the same thing that, they won't give you the money if they won't give you your time. Right. And if you can deliver content for that long, that's the other part. People are like, well, what do I do for 2.5 hours? Well, that's just it. Help them. Help them and share your story and get to know who they are. Now, what are some ways that you help people engage? If it's an evergreen or it's an automated webinar, how do you simulate that live experience?
Well, by the end of the event, I try to have a Q&A session, but I really make a clarity in the beginning of the event that if I'm not able to answer questions that you may have, I will be answering some questions at the end of this presentation. Mm-hmm. Someone will get back to you, whether it's on this while this presentation is going on or after via email. So if you have a question, we're still going to respond to it. So I set that up early. And now people aren't he's not answering my question. And my team or myself will go in and respond to any question that's asked during an automated webinar.
Right.
And by creating that, it's like I'm kind of handling that objection early on. So that's kind of one thing that I tend to do. And the other couple elements is that I just try to provide as much value as possible. I don't really pull out any stops. I pull out all the stops is what I meant to say. I kind of give the best stuff I have, and a lot of people are terrified of giving their best stuff away. But I think at the end of the day, it's more important to give your best stuff away and have them really realize that this stuff does work, and then they'll, again, as we already said, people will buy from the people they know. I mean, that's even if you're giving them the best quality content, it don't feel like you're giving them too much.
Right.
Make the best quality content digestible, but the power of it is also answering their questions. So what I tend to also do is when I do live webinars, when I did a launch this last year, one of my best days was a 6-hour long, it was 4 hours, 4-hour long live stream event, where I just answered questions the entire time.
Wow.
Answered questions, and that was it. My hair was getting huge. I was like sweating because I was like, it's a long day, but that's it. I was just in front of my audience, answering questions, handling their objections, and they were coming through. And
right.
that was a good 6-figure day right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you do that, that's what it's about. You share with them the community, and that's exactly what you just said. Like, the longer you're on a presentation, some stayed to the very end. They were like, wow, I've been here since the beginning. Yep. I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
You are a diehard. I love you. And that's the thing. It's like, if you're making the commitment to them, they'll make it to you.
And I love what you said about giving away your best stuff, because this is something that I struggled with. So first of all, don't be afraid of giving away your best stuff, because you just, like, again, when we talked about before, do it until it becomes dull and then do it until it's beautiful again. It's just, there really is, like, you will surprise yourself with the stuff that you will keep coming up with. So don't be afraid and, like, think that you have to hold on to stuff. The other thing is, when a band gets the opportunity to play a song on national radio, they don't take their second best song off the CD and be like, we'll leave our favorite song on the album, hopefully so the buyers will find it. They give it away for free. And they give it to as many people as they can, because really where they make money in the music industry is at the live events, right? The concerts, when they're selling you $250 tickets. So for them, they want you to get the value. They want you to get familiar with it, because the other thing is, when you give away your best content, people are always going to have follow-up questions or need hand-holding or more advice. So that's a really great tip. And again, Casey, I just love your work, like your business ethic. You're just really good values and morals. Now, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making, like when they start to try and get their webinars up? Obviously, with EasyWebinar, you've helped tens and probably even hundreds of people get their webinars up and going. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see them making?
Oftentimes I see them when they're doing webinars, the tech kind of gets in the way. That's the biggest thing, or the fear of doing webinars in the first place. And it's so simple that's really the biggest thing, is like there's either things with tech wise that they're not quite familiar with doing, or it's like getting that actual webinar done. Because the technology is there, you can use the technology to do it, and if you dial it in, it can make you a living per year. I mean, I just got an email from one of our customers, Dale Partridge, who is doing some cool stuff with startupcamp.com, and he just said, Casey, since I've been using your program, I made $100,000, and he's only been using it for 2 months. So,
he's a believer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but he put the time in, it's not an overnight thing. You have to, the biggest mistake I see is that people want instant gratification. They want to have it instantly up. And you know what? To be able to have a good dialed in presentation, that is time that you need to allow yourself to invest in, because you're investing. That's what it is. You're investing time and money into something that will eventually work for you. And it's not always the easiest road to take. And sometimes there are tech things that pop in the way, or sometimes your video doesn't work and you have to redo it, or there are all sorts of things that come that are stumbling blocks or road blocks. And it's really about how you handle those roadblocks and stay consistent and persevere. So I would say if this is something you're wanting to do, it's really about the consistency factor. That's just being on and allowing yourself that growth process to learning how to do it and how to implement it, and then and then finally having it work for you, and then testing to see what could be better.
That's awesome.
And that's it. I mean, it's not glamorous. It's unfortunately not glamorous at all. It's sometimes it's tough, and that's what separates out people that are doing it on autopilot and having more time with their family from people that aren't, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right. And then there'd be no value to it.
Exactly.
So what other habits do you think have helped you on your path to success?
I have no idea. I think part of it is that I have short-term memory. So even though I make a mistake or stumble, I get up and keep going, because probably my short-term memory forgot that I made that mistake in the first.
Right. It doesn't get into the long term, so you're not afraid of failing.
Yeah, it doesn't push me right. I fail all the time, and I think it's because I have a little bit of a risk taking in me, and I allow myself to be in risky scenarios so that I can persevere. And I think that can be attributed to it. I think it's just like allowing myself to make the relationships with people, because that's another thing. Relationships are a very powerful way to continue to prosper, making those relationships and fulfilling on those relationships. Everybody is human. So even if you kind of make a mistake, or you do a promotion for them, or they do a promotion for you, and it's not as awesome as you were hoping for, people are forgiving, and work with people that are that way, where they're not going to be like, well, you didn't do this, so I'm writing you off. It's really not the type of people you want to work with. Some of the ways that I've had a lot of success is I've reached out to some influencers and helped them with something without them asking for it. And it was probably one of the most beneficial things I could see. Yep. Where I was like, hey, listen, I want to help you with this. Let me help you with creating an automated webinar for your business. And by doing so, without asking for anything back, they're like, Casey, this is awesome. I started making money with this right away. You rock. This is great. I'm going to promote you. We did that with Ryan Lee. We did that with John Lee Dumas. A few other influencers who, don't be afraid to reach out to them and help them with something, because that's one of the best ways to get into an inner circle, so to speak. Provide value to them, help them with a pain point that they might be experiencing, and you will you'll be able to grow outside of your sort of spectrum, if you will.
Yeah, that's so well said. And again, it goes back to the beginning, where after you've gotten your scarcity items taken care of, it really does become about giving value, and that when you come to these influencers and you just want to help them have more significance and impact and do whatever they're doing better, how are they not going to look at you in a positive light? Right? I mean, you're helping them help more people. We're all on We're all on this journey together. We're all trying to make this world a better place for our children and their great grandchildren. So I fully agree with you on that. Great advice. So,
thanks, man.
Any future trends of the industry that you see that you can maybe give us a little insight on? Where do you see things going in the next 5 years?
You know what? That's a great question. I see that obviously. The youngest generation, before millennials, I don't even know what that generation is called at this point. Can't remember.
They're so new, they have no name.
They have no name, yeah. these people, these young kids essentially are not going to be consuming content the way you and I consume it now. So Netflix, I think, is even going to be a dying breed at some point in the future because they're all consuming content mobile. They're consuming fast content on YouTube, on Periscope. This is going to be how people consume content into the future. So there's going to be a whole movement of, I believe, of kind of a new movement of reality television or reality lifestyle that is built around individuals that's going to be spurning back. Like, reality TV got really popular back in early 2000. Well, there's a resurgence, I feel like, that's going to happen where it's now going to be where it's based on the individual, right? The individual broadcaster, the individual TV person, because now you have the ability to stream from your own phone. You can become a TV personality. So I feel like there is going to be more social awareness around that as well, because younger kids are seeing people on YouTube that are successful. They have the tools to find that success early on. And I feel like that's going to have a new wave of socially responsible people that know that they can influence the world with their message. So things are really going to be changing, I feel like, in this way where the individual becomes the influencer, and then there's movements of influence, and then how people consume media, I think is drastically going to change, where everything is going to be kind of on a shorter spurt. If you think about it, if you look at say now with Twitter, you can actually see Periscope videos or Periscope broadcasts that are in real time on Twitter. A lot of people are scrolling down and they're seeing it without sound now. They're seeing those videos without the sound. And on Facebook too. Right. So now there's a whole wave of people that are consuming video without listening to video. Right. And so now there's a new way to get people's attention via video based on the understanding of how they're watching it. So there is going to also be a new trend of how video is presented, I think, to people.
I love that. That's great. That's great insight. Well, Casey, you've brought us just really good, pragmatic, and practical tips for building and being successful in business, as well as using video and how to build and create an audience, how to nurture that audience, how to build kind of, I don't want to say reciprocity, but how to build rapport. That was the word. How to build rapport with them, how to be human with them, and also things like don't be afraid to fail, don't be afraid of the technology, don't be afraid of being real and showing your life as it actually is, and just really good tips. And even just the thing of like, if you want to be successful at this, it's not going to be an overnight thing that you have to be invested in developing over time, but it's a worthwhile investment because you can, especially with the webinars, automated webinar, if you get this dialed in, you can earn an automated income and earn a decent sized living just based off of serving other people and just having, because with most companies, and this is probably a good thing to finish with, but most people don't realize that for a lot of companies, the biggest challenge they face is scaling sales. And that's often because their best sales reps they can't duplicate, and their best sales reps can only see so many people per day, and just however they sign people up. If you go to the Apple store, right, there's only so many people at the Genius Bar that can sit at the Genius Bar. So it's always about how do we manage and serve more people. But with a webinar, an automated webinar using a tool like EasyWebinar, you can have a couple thousand people all at one time come and get the same quality sales presentation. So just nailing that and getting that down for your business, and then understanding the fundamentals of just good, solid, old school advertising, you can earn yourself and your family a really decent evening and earn a really decent living and have significant impacts in whatever industry you're in. So really valuable content. Very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming here. People listening, you may want to go back and take some notes and listen to some of these again. Casey, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to get on your list, they want to get involved, they want to reach out or help you with what you're doing, what are the best ways that they can connect?
Well, yeah, if you want to, it depends on which path or direction you want to go, but you can go, if you want to learn more about webinars webinars, you can go into webinarminicourse.com. It's webinarminicourse.com. Very easy. That's a mini course. If you wanted to check out Fullscope.tv, the analytic tool that allows you to do, to tell you everything you want to know about the people coming to your broadcast on Periscope, that's Fullscope.tv. And both of those are free, by the way. And then if you want to learn just more about me, you can go to CaseyZeman.com. You can check out my blog, check out anything that might help you to kind of help your business out. You can find me on Facebook or Twitter at Casey Zeman. And that's the best way to get a hold of me.
That's awesome. And that's CaseyZeman, Casey Zeman.
Yep.
Perfect.
Right.
Well, Casey, again, just thank you so much for your time and the value and for sharing with us. I know that this is going to impact people and help change lives. Those of you listening, I do encourage you to go and get on Casey's list. I fully endorse him. He's helped me. He's been a good friend along the way. And obviously, he walks the talk. And there's no fluff in what we've been talking about here. So, again, just thank you and all the best to you. And enjoy the sunshine and the beach because I'm freezing up here in Canada.
I'll try to enjoy it for you, but it's pretty cold here too, man. It's like 50 degrees. It was this morning.
That's crazy. Well, at least you don't have to shovel your driveway.
That's right. That's true.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.